Description: an ordinary student accidentally traveled into another universe and became the king of a small kingdom. He had gotten a cheating code of life and was able to complete something extraordinary. This is the story about a king that was able to conquer continents and leave behind him an ultimate legend that will be recited between every generation to come. Chapter 1: I am the king. Chapter 1. I'm the king. Danger. Protect the king. Someone was screaming like a hen which had lost its eggs. Faye heard the noise. He forced open his sleepy eyes and focused on a bright object flying towards him. Faye's brain slowly identified the object as an arrow, which was hurtling towards him so fast that the air appeared to rip in front of it. Damn, what's going on? Which asshole is shooting at me? Faye was immediately scared awake, with all the hair on his body standing on its end. However, the arrow hit him before he was able to react. Bang! The arrow clanged against his helmet. The arrow had not penetrated but had shaken the helmet, disorientating Faye. Faye felt his ears were ringing, the sky and the ground were spinning and stars were circling before his eyes. His body was knocked back, like a Barbie doll blown away by a shotgun. Ah, shit! He cried out in pain as he felt his body ragdoll through the air. Oh, God! The king is wounded! Help! Soldier! Catch the king! Andy, why are you still standing there? Go get the priests and mages. Hey, those son of bitches down there are trying to overtake the castle again. A soldier pointed at the army dressed in black that surrounded the castle. Shit, someone tell me why they have siege ladders. Archers ready, shoot. Faye heard the commands being shouted and the chaotic footsteps while he was still airborne. He was confused. The king, mages, priest, archers, siege. Where is this? Is this in the middle of a movie shoot? What the hell is going on? Immediately, he felt his body collide with the cold stone floor. His butt made contact with the rock-solid ground first before his helmeted head smashed into the wall. There were more stars dancing before his eyes. As the noises were getting louder and louder around him, his mind was slowly blacking out again. What king? Why does it feel like they are talking about me? Fuck, who gives a shit about kings or queens? You guys better not let me know who shot that arrow, or I'm gonna fucking kill that guy. Faye thought vaguely. His head was almost punctured by an arrow when he had just woken up. He was so scared yet mad at the same time, so he couldn't help but swear in his mind. Suddenly, the sensation of pain flooded his entire body. He collapsed on the floor, just like a dog that had eaten a ton of chocolate, choked a couple of times and fainted. Ellipsis. Ellipsis. Don't know in how long, Faye woke up for the second time. His head felt sluggish and he could only vaguely perceive his surroundings. He felt like he was lying on a soft cloud, but as he tried to move, sharp pangs of pain and soreness declared his body's unwillingness to move. His head was still heavy as if someone had clobbered him with a stick. He couldn't open his eyes either. All he could gather was two female voices whispering around him. Angela, you're so silly. I wouldn't care so much about him if I were you. If he dies, you will easily own everything in the Chambord kingdom and you don't even have to marry this royal idiot. From the crisp voice and sweet giggles, Faye estimated that they were young girls around the age of 15. Watch what you are saying. Another gentle voice interrupted slightly angrily. After a few seconds of pause as if she is adjusting her attitude, she continued. Emma, my silly little sister, do you know what you are saying? Don't ever say such things. After all, Alexander is my fiancé. Alexander? Who the heck is Alexander? Faye thought. He had absolutely no idea of what was going on. He smelled a little fragrance. The natural sweet body odor of women. Faye tried hard to open his eyes, and as his heavy eyelids finally budged, he was surprised by what he saw. He found himself inside what appeared to be a luxury medieval European palace, with magnificent decors, royal furniture, and a lavender scent, as if he was in a dream. He was shocked. He started observing his surroundings after he felt that he had control of his neck again. Two perfectly postured females appeared in front of him. The one that was farther away was a young girl dressed in a maid uniform. Her blonde hair was simply styled into a pigtail. She pouted her mouth. Clearly, she was unhappy to see him awake. She must be the one who didn't care about Alexander. Faye thought, although she is young, she is too cold-blooded. As his sight moved closer, he realized that he was lying on a dark red, gold-gilded king-sized bed. His head was resting on a soft velvet pillow. A beautiful girl was sitting on the side of the bed with worry written all over her face. Her silky black hair was like dark cloud tied together with a purple string. Her skin was paler than snow and smoother than ice. The violet tunic skirt elevated her curves, making her appear like a goddess that most men would dream of seeing. She was just perfect. Coco. Faye coughed intentionally to get their attention. You were awake. The black-haired beauty Angela bent over. Her expression quickly became one of surprise and happiness. Alexander, how are you feeling? Are you still in pain? Priest Evan said that you have to rest properly. What happened? Faye didn't know what to say. Right after he said it, he was shocked. He discovered something unbelievable. Angela was using an ancient and weird-sounding language. Although Faye was a student in the graduate program at a university that specialized in language, he never heard of this type of speech. However strangely, he doesn't just understand the language, he can speak it as well. Alexander, did you forget? When you were leading the soldiers protecting the kingdom, a sneaky enemy shot you with an arrow. Thank God you were wearing your helmet, or else you might have had to pay a larger price. Angela explained. She gently placed her left hand on Faye's forehead. It wasn't hot. Surprise flashed through her eyes. Great. Your body temperature is back to normal. Priest Evan said that as long as you don't have a fever, everything will be alright. Alexander, you are a brave king. Me, Alexander, king. Faye didn't know what was going on. That's right, our young and brave king of Chambord. It's all because of you. You appeared on the fortress walls just in time and boosted the morale of our soldiers so they could fend off another wave of attackers from the invading army. Angela said with a smile on her face. Faye felt strange. For some reason, he felt like the tonality of the girl was like a kindergarten teacher trying to comfort a crying kid. He is no brave king. Emma, the blonde girl said with a tone of hostility, if it wasn't for General Bizzer's repeated request, Alexander will go up there voluntarily. I remember that he almost peed his pants when he was putting on his armor. Boosting morale. If seeing the king got shot off the defense wall like a moron the moment he got up there counts as boosting the morale, then I guess he did. Although Faye didn't know if what Emma said was true or not, he didn't have time to figure that out. His mind was messed up. What the hell? Didn't I got smashed by something on the head at the doorstep of my apartment? Then when I woke up, I'm at this Chambord kingdom that I never heard about and I'm the King Alexander. And this beauty in front of me is my fiancé. Faye gave himself a few taps on the forehead. Is this a prank? Or am I in a different universe? Faye thought. This doesn't seem like a prank. The beauty of Angela is out of this world, who would pay her to prank me? And that Emma is super cute too. Most importantly, I could understand and speak this strange ancient language that I never heard about. Faye quickly analyzed his situation. Chapter 2 The Idiot Became a Madman. Chapter 2 The Idiot Became a Madman. Angela held on tight to the edge of the bed, her mind anxiously racing as worry filled her widened eyes. Poor Alexander, I hope the fall didn't damage his brain. Although he wasn't very bright before, at least he could talk. At the moment, a loud, arrogant echoed from beyond the doorway. Alexander, I heard that you were injured. A grimace flickered across the girls' faces as they turned towards the source of the sound. The voice drew the tone out as if to mockingly be concerned. Is everything all right? Faye looked up and noticed that a well-dressed, chubby man had barged through the doors to the palace bedroom. An icy laugh slipped between his crooked lips. Gil, what are you doing here? Angela said coldly. Faye felt the tension between the shady, obese newcomer and the beauty beside him. It was clear that they were not on good terms. Haha, Angela, my angel, whatever do you mean? I heard my dear friend Alexander got injured and was worried. What's wrong with me coming by to check up on him? The fat noble casually walked up and sat right on a side of the bed as if it was his own. Gil, what are you doing? How dare you to sit on the bed of the king? Emma angrily exclaimed. Gil shot a look at Emma. Lust and malice flashed through his eyes. He licked his thick, sausage-like lips and retorted. Shut up, you low-class slave. Don't say anything that you'll regret. He then leisurely turned around and glanced at Faye. The expression was not someone showing empathy for an injured friend, but more like the gloating of looking at an injured animal. Faye was looking at Gil at the same time. He felt the scorn, malice, and sarcasm in Gil's eyes. Gil was not hiding his feelings even a little bit. Faye was confused. Is this ugly meatball really Alexander's friend? His face has so many chins, yet he's brave enough to show that mess to even the king. Does he have a strong family background as well? As Faye was thinking, Gil started to squish Faye's face with his oily hands as if it was a toy. The move was so natural that it seemed like Gil has done it thousands of times. Alexander looks like you are fine, haha. I have a few important guests this afternoon to host, so how about you come with me? Gil was smiling, but the tone at which he said it was not like an invitation but a command. He squished Faye's face a little bit more and slapped it a little. Gil loved this feeling, treating the king like a pet. He then started thinking out loud, about how was it possible that someone like Alexander became the king. He has a 3-year-old's intelligence at the age of 17, yet why does the god love him so much that he gave him the throne? When Gil was enjoying himself, something unexpected happened. Slap. Gil covered up his left cheek with his hand. A vivid red hand mark had appeared on his cheek just like paint being flung onto an abstract painting. His expression was the textbook definition of shock. Both Angela and Emma had felt uncomfortable when Gil appeared but the slap had shocked them as well. They couldn't believe what they saw. Alexander had always acted meek and cowardly and thus he had always been picked on by Gil due to his unwillingness to fight back. He just smacked Gil's face. Did that actually just happen? Although it was shocking, they were thrilled. They had tolerated Gil for a long time. How dare you? Fag, if you touch me again with your disgusting hand, I'm gonna shove my foot up your ass. Faye said. Gil had made Faye very frustrated, and Faye was not a gentle person when dealing with people that make him upset. Gil shoved a fat sausage finger at Faye and screamed. He was so mad that all the fat on his body was shaking as if he was a Parkinson-inflicted pudding. How dare you slap me, you bastard? Gil yelled again and again. Faye didn't respond. He was trying to push his body up. How dare he yell at the palace? Faye was perplexed. None of the king's guards showed up like they were supposed to. Could he really be someone that important that a king can't punish? As Faye was thinking, Gil had made a mad decision. He pounced at Faye, seeming like he wanted revenge. Stop it, Angela commanded. Gil, you are just the son of a minister. How dare you do such a thing? No matter what Angela was shouting, Nothing affects Gil as he kept his eyes locked on Faye. Angela and Emma tried their best to protect Faye by pulling on Jill's robes. However, there was no way both of them were any match for Gil. Slap. Frustrated Gil slapped Emma across her face. The force sends her back a couple of yards. Her pretty face was swelling upon the cheek as tears filled her eyes. Gil grabbed Angela by her wrist next and pulled her towards him. He lowered his head onto Angela's neck. He sniffed a couple of times enjoyably and pervertedly said, "Beautiful Angela, this retarded Alexander is never going to be good enough for you. Look at him, he doesn't resemble anything of a king. He had made a mess of Chambord Kingdom after just inheriting the throne. Hee, Angela, how about becoming my woman?" He was holding tight onto Angela's wrist. The warm and smooth sensation of her body broke down the last bit of his reasoning. He forgot he was inside the king's palace and Angela was the future queen. In the momentum that came from his loss of sanity, he tried to kiss Angela's lips forcefully. Suddenly, pong, a metal helmet, kissed his forehead instead. But with that amount of force, it was more like a smack of a hammer. This attack was so sudden that Gil didn't even see it coming. Surprised at the blood gushing out of the wound, he screamed as he fell back and let go of Angela's wrist. Angela once again witnessed something that she thought wouldn't happen in this lifetime and was speechless. As Faye picked up the helmet off the ground, he sneered, "How dare you touch my woman, you fat motherfucker. How dare you touch the king? I'm gonna beat you until you become quadriplegic or, I swear to God, I'm not the king." He was feeling better as he swore, thinking to himself, "Man, I was scared by this fat tub of lard. I thought he was some important figure, but it turned out that he is just the son of a minister. I can fuck him up any day of the week." It was dead silent in the royal bedroom. They could hear the sound of a needle dropping onto the ground. Although there were already many times Faye's actions had shocked both Angela and Emma, this time, they sensed that something was different. It is not possible. How could it be? They stared at Faye. It feels like the 17-year-old retard Alexander who listened to Gil all the time has changed. Gil was lying motionless on the floor. His mind was blank. He sensed that Alexander's personality has changed too much. Faye's actions in Alexander's body had scared Gil due to how out of character it was. That blow from the helmet was full of power and felt as though Faye was actually trying to kill him. After a couple of seconds, he calmed down. He thought about why he came to the palace today and he decided to give it all he's got. He lifted his left hand and a strange and mysterious spell rolled off of his tongue. A ball of fire was forming upon his hand and a burning sensation was filling the whole palace. Gil forgot how he felt earlier and suddenly became a lot braver. He mocked at Faye. "You, the king. Ha, except yourself, who do you think considers you as our king in the entire Chambord Kingdom? How dare you hit me? Alexander, prepare to feel the wrath of a prestige mage." Faye was still posing in a brave posture trying to impress Angela and Emma. But when he saw the fireball forming, his pupil contracted a little. Mage. Holy shit, this dumb fucker is a mage. Looks like he's got some skills. What should I do? Man, I shouldn't have made that decision under impulse. If I knew this, I would have tried to talk him out of it rather than using force. Faye was trying to think of a solution to this hot mess. He looked at the burning fireball on Jill's hand and the dented helmet in his hand and thought, what the hell is this? If we are going to fight, at least give me a sword or some sort of weapon. He thought for a few seconds and started yelling, "Guards, guards. Assassins. Someone is trying to assassinate me. Haha, that's no use." Gil laughed as he flicked his hand and the red-hot projectile flew toward Faye's face like a bullet. Chapter 3 Don't ever do that. Chapter 3. Don't ever do that. Ah, Angela screamed. As the flames grew in Jill's hand, she frantically looked for ways to stop him. However, it was all useless. Shit. Faye couldn't do anything else but to try to block it with the helmet he was holding in his hand. Boom. The fireball collided with the helmet, producing a burst of sparks and smoke. The helmet had turned red-hot and splattered as it started to melt. SSII. Faye smelled burned flesh. He rushed as he tried to get the melting metal helmet off of his hand. Although he acted as fast as he could, the layer of skin on his inner palm had burned off already. The fireball appeared to have run out of energy, fizzing and finally became extinguished. Faye didn't have time to relax as he immediately saw another fireball forming upon Jill's hand. Judging from Jill's sweaty face, it was obvious that he was concentrating extremely hard to finish Faye off with this one. This time, Faye had nothing to block it with. "This is not fair," Faye yelled. "I challenge you to a wrestling match. Didn't your parents teach you that kids playing with fire will pee their pants?" What? Angela and Emma were shocked speechless. Since was there such a saying? Looks like Alexander is still an idiot. Both of them thought disappointedly. However, what they didn't notice was that Faye had slowly moved to the other side of the bed and managed to pick up the cuirass that he wore on the walls. He hid it behind his back as he slowly inched his way back towards Gil. "Just wait. Once you get in my reach, I will teach you a lesson in place of your parents." Faye calculated the distance between them and was preparing to use some sneaky and dirty tactics to deal with Gil. But, pee your own motherfucking pants. Gil was furious. He was not going to hold back his wrath of a prestigious mage. He made up his mind to punish the retard king for what he did. The second fireball was flung towards Faye. Angela reacted fast. Although she so scared that her face paled, she made up her mind to save Faye by blocking the fireball with her body. Seeing Angela suddenly appear in front of Faye, Gil went into shock and tried to retrieve his fireball. However, it was already too late. Faye reacted immediately. Shit. Without thinking, Faye grabbed Angela's shoulder and pressed her against his chest as he turned his body around. He felt the heat scorch across his back. Shit. I'm gonna die. At very moment. A big hand appeared out of nowhere and grabbed the fireball. It gave it a light squeeze, completely indifferent to the extreme heat radiating off of it. Faye watched with wide eyes as the fireball that could melt a metal helmet collapsed like an ice cream in a hot summer day. Hope was restored to Faye as he let go of Angela. A master, he thought. At the same time, the Jill's face froze. He stared at the man who appeared in the palace, his face turning paler than flour and his body starting to shake uncontrollably. Like a mouse that saw a cat, Gil was so scared that his voice turned into a completely different tone. Mr. Lampod, why are you here? I. Gil started sweating like crazy as he tried to explain himself. This, Mr. Lampod, didn't even look at Gil. He turned around and slightly bowed to Angela respectfully, and then looked at Faye coldly and said, Alexander, you majesty. Faye took a detailed look at this, master. In front of him stood a handsome, 6'5" Caucasian man. With hair so red and vivid, it looked like a mane of burning fire. What stood out the most was the huge 5-foot-long sword he was carrying on his back. It was as black as coal and looked to weigh about 200 pounds. The thing that confused Faye was that although this master was strong, his face was a bit pale. Faye guessed that he may have been injured in the siege. Faye also felt strange. Lampod saved him, but he wasn't very friendly towards him. Faye sensed a little bit of sad and hopelessness in his stares. Faye didn't know who he really was, so he just nodded in response. Mr. Lampod, can I go now? Gil was extremely scared. Lampod didn't even look at him. Go. Aren't you going to explain your offensive behavior towards the king? Explain. Well, I was only joking. Yeah, joking. I had grown up with him, right? I just didn't control my magic properly. I'm only a novice mage, not even a star rank. Gil quickly found an excuse. He was sing so fluently that he almost believed in what he was saying. As he was spewing out excuses, he sensed a cold stare as sharp as a blade on his neck from Lampod. He knew that this man could kill him as easily as an ant. He was scared to continue to say anything, so he shut himself up and sheepishly smiled. Lampod had a disgusted look on his face. He closed his hand and everyone in the palace felt an invisible pressure. But Lampard's face showed that he had thought of something. He hesitated a bit, then opened his palm again and the pressure was gone. Get out of here. There's no next time, Lampod said as if he was shooing away a fly. Okay. Gil was relieved like a prisoner who received death penalty just got a pardon. He exhaled rapidly and bowed down to the tall man carrying the sword. Wait. As Gil was preparing to leave this place, Faye suddenly stopped him. Gil looked at Lampod, but the old man didn't say a word. He had to stop and listen to what Faye had say. Faye gave his widest smile as he got closer and closer to Gil. He casually put his hand onto Jill's shoulder. Everyone thought the king was going to say something to comfort Gil because of his friendliness. However, he didn't say anything and started to slap Gil on the face like crazy. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever fucking do that again. He kept on yelling as he was slapping. Pia. The sound of the slaps almost formed a symphony. Faye's action sent Angela and Emma into a shock once more. The cold-faced Lampod was surprised by this as well. Is this brutal and crazy man the king? Is this really the idiot King Alexander? Poor Gil didn't know what to do. The appearance of Lampod had scared him into not using his abilities, and now he's afraid to even defend himself against Faye's assault. Gil regretted what he did as Faye gets his revenge. If I knew Alexander became this shameless after being shot by an arrow, I'd never have come here. He cried in his mind. Faye finally stopped as his hand became numb. Gil thought his nightmare was over as he stopped sniveling like a bitch. Who knew that Faye rubbed his hands and kicked Gil right in the nether regions? He screamed in pain. His body quickly reacted by mimicking a fried shrimp. He bent his back and started to desperately crawl out of the palace as if he was escaping hell. He had finally learned his lesson and didn't want to ever see this insane king ever again. You got lucky this time. Faye yelled at Gil. He was a simple man. He was not going to taking any sort of humiliation and act like nothing happened. He wanted revenge on the spot. After releasing his anger on Gil, he felt much better. As Faye turned around, he saw the shocked expressions on Angela, Emma and Lampard's face. They were staring at him as if he was some unknown monster. Shit, did I overreact? Faye thought. Oh, my head is dizzy, I'm fainting. He fell onto the floor. Angela and Emma, who still have the hand mark on her face, got nervous. They thought the arrow injury was reoccurring again. They dragged him to the bed. Lampard looked at Faye. He was suspicious of Faye's terrible acting, but he didn't say anything. He asked Angela about Faye's arrow injury, comforted both Angela and Emma a little, and left with a ton of questions on his mind. My Majesty, the enemies are still sieging. Looks like your soldiers can't defend any longer. This is the last thing Lampard said before he left. Angela and Emma stood by him for a while. After seeing no sign of Faye waking up, Angela took Emma to the priest to get her face treated. Ellipsis. After only Faye was left in the palace, he calmed down and started to think about the whole situation. Obviously he was in another universe. Not only Angela and Emma, but that meatball-shaped magician's magic and that mysterious old master's powerful skills had proven it. Faye was a poor graduate student. He grew up in an orphanage. He was in a hopeless situation because he had incurred a lot of debt for university but couldn't find a job to pay it off. After thinking about it, Faye concluded that becoming the king in another universe was not a bad thing. As a king, I probably can do anything I want, he thought. He couldn't wait to use his powers. He started to map his situation. Looks like on my way back to my apartment, I was hit by a bright disc of some sort. I'm probably died on the spot, but somehow my soul came to this universe and possessed the body of this Alexander. From what has happened, Faye pieced together that this young king only had the intelligence of a 3-year-old. He didn't know what had happened to the last king, but the throne was taken by this Alexander. Obviously, all the ministers were opposed to this young king. Faye remembered getting shot by an arrow and then waking up in this bed. Probably by the time on the wall, my soul had just gained possession of this body. I'm not sure where the original Alexander went, but I'm the new Alexander now. The original Alexander the king was really an idiot. Faye possessed his body and for sure took over his memories as well. All he got was the basic information such as the language spoken in this kingdom and some simple hobbies that the previous tenant of this body had. Other than that, Faye had no idea how big this kingdom was and how everything else worked. He only knew Angela, his fiancée, after he woke up in this world for the first time, and he had no recollection of Gil and Lampod. Thank God this guy was dumb. From now on when I mimic him, no one can tell I'm someone different. Faye touched his chin and nodded. But suddenly, he remembered something else. Before Lampod left, he mentioned something about enemies sieging the castle and that the soldiers can't defend any longer. Damn it. Faye almost jumped out of the bed. Am I going to be a slave right after I became the king? The pressure of survival in reality scared Faye. Maybe I should pack up and sneak out of here. Shit, how can I sneak out when the enemies have already surrounded the castle? Can Master Lampod kill them? Wait, he is just one man, how can he face off an army? Plus, the enemies probably have masters, too. Faye had no idea how he was going to get out of this situation. When he was on Earth, he was just a student. He had no talent in military nor in fighting. The best he could do was to handle a drunk dude at the bar. If you want him to lead an army, he didn't have enough strength to wear a full metal armor. Faye was furious. Why can't I just live my ordinary life on Earth? I don't want to be the king anymore. At this moment, collecting players' information, 20%, 50%, 88%, 100%, game system installation initiated, scanning brain capacity, requirement met, install. A mysterious, mechanical-sounding voice appeared out of nowhere. It scared Faye almost to the death. This voice appeared directly in his mind. Shit, what is this? Ghost. He got no replies. Install complete. Entering Diablo world in 3, 2, 1, enter. Like the characters in the TV series Stargate who travel through the Stargate, Faye felt dizzy and a mysterious and strange wave went through his body. Rogue encampment. Faye stood like a zombie at Rogue encampment where the new players spawn in the game Diablo. His mind was blank. He had been standing here for the last 5 minutes. 5 minutes ago, after the 3-second countdown in his mind by the voice, his vision blurred and he landed here. This was a real Diablo world. A perfect and lively world. This was the conclusion Faye came to after the 5 minutes. The sky was dark and the rain was pouring down. An unknown dark green bryophyte had grown all over the ground. Dark soil appeared further away. The camp was empty. Cluck, 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 only a few hungry hens were seeking food in the rain. A cold breeze blew through Faye and he shook in the cold. The vivid sensation from every nerve in his body reminded him that this was real, this was a real world, not a stiff 2D computerized screen.